Time to wake up. It's Saturday morning. Find some milk and cereal. Grab a bowl and spoon. No, a bigger spoon. Head to the living room and take a seat on the floor while Joseph and Chris present to you Saturday Morning Cartoon!
Hello everybody, welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoon Boom! This is your wake by the Saturday Morning Sun, pops on my favorite Google Cheer cereal, and we'll try your favorite cartoons, both old and new. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
And this morning, we watched Beast Wars.
Yeah, it's pronounced Beast Wars!
Yeah.
Like, something like, I mean, we were close.
Yeah. I don't know if I could meet that level of 90s in my voice. I don't think I could do it. Who suggested this one to us?
This was suggested by both David Bond and Cyrusthel Helton. Let me know, Cyrusthel or Mr. or Mrs. or Miss Helton, if I'm saying that right, because I have no idea. But thank you, both of you.
Yeah, I didn't even understand what you said right there. So it was like,
yeah,
it's not Cyrus. What was it?
Like Cyrusthel, I think.
Cyrusthel. That's just one name, and then there's another one.
Yeah, it's one word. And then the other name is Helton.
Cyrusthel Helton. I mean, that's a cool name, but it doesn't sound like it sounds like a fictional name though.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this was requested by an elf.
Or what was the guy last week whose name was obviously fake?
Oh, Mr. Warner 53.
That's right.
Yeah, Mr. Warner, he this might be his Warcraft name.
Yeah.
That he's using.
His gamer tag.
He's a blood elf mage. And he is definitely for the Horde, but he's not fooling us. We're on to you, Mr. Warner.
If that is your real name.
It's not.
So the show Beast Wars. So sorry, hold on. I feel like I have to say it with intensity now every time I say it.
Yeah, you got to be Beast Wars.
So the show Beast Wars aired from 96 to 99, developed by Larry DiTillio and Bob Forward, produced by Hasbro, Alliance Communications, Cluster Television, Mainframe Entertainment, and BLT Productions Ltd. Ran for 3 seasons, 52 episodes, and originally it was syndicated and on YTV in Canada. For short synopsis by Aaron Teitelbaum. Yep, I guess that's what it is.
Teitelbaum.
Aaron Teitelbaum.
That.
2 spaceships, one manned by benevolent Maximals, the other by evil Predacons, crash land on a pre-humanoid planet while en route to Earth. Their crews assume indigenous animal forms to protect themselves from an overabundance of natural energy, transforming into robots to do battle. Thus, the Beast Wars have begun.
I like how he added on that hyping sentence at the end, like, thus, the Beast Wars have begun.
That's what sold it to me, honestly. There were a couple of synopsi there, but this one was the best one that I found.
Yeah. I don't think that they were trying to hit Earth. I think they were out exploring, and from what I remember, the Maximals this group was just an exploration group. I don't think they were heading for Earth necessarily. They were just heading out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right and you're wrong at the same time.
Yeah,
because originally they were not headed for Earth. It was just like they crash landed there accidentally. But then the writers wrote it into the storyline that Megatron was trying to go to Earth because of the amount of energon that was there. But you can tell from the very first episode that he didn't even know that there was going to be that much there. He was pleasantly surprised.
Retconned it. I see what you guys are up to.
There were a few things that were retconned here. Like, okay, so just let me preface it a little bit. I know we haven't done all the stuff yet, but let me preface it a little bit by saying that this takes place in a future past situation.
Yep.
Originally, though, it was supposed to be detached from the Transformers G1 altogether, and it was just going to be its own thing. But again, they kind of retconned and wrote it in as being the post, 1984 Transformers movie. I think it was 84. The animated Transformers movie, because prior to that, it was just its own thing. And they had mentioned a great war, quote unquote, in the first episode, but the writers admitted that it was just to kind of hype it up and make it seem like there was some history behind it to say Great War. So it wasn't supposed to be a Cybertronian war, but they retconned and wrote it in as that later.
And when you say Great War, are you meaning like it was a great war, like there's just so much war going on? Or do you mean like You remember that war? Man, that was great.
That was a great war.
Such a great war. I had such a blast.
Yeah, great war, guys. Pat everybody on the back.
What a great, yeah,
Let's
what a
go-
great war,
Let's
everyone.
go for sandwiches.
Yeah, great war, everybody. Yeah, I like. Maybe it can be both. I'll accept both.
We'll take both. So who are some of the actors who played in the show?
All right, well, there's quite a few, so strap yourselves in, because the voice of Optimus Primal was Gary Chalk, who also voiced He-Man in The New Adventures of He-Man, Spike from Street Sharks, Dr. Robotnik from Sonic Underground, Optimus Prime in Transformers Armada, Energon, and Cybertron, and currently voices Dr. Light in Mega Man Fully Charged, which I didn't know was a thing, and it looked cool, and now I kind of want to see it. The voice of Rhinox was provided by Richard Newman, who's the voice of M. Bison in Street Fighter the Animated Series, the voice of Moriarty in Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd Century, which is another that we have to watch, and I totally added it to our list last night.
Nice. I forgot about that one.
I didn't know it was a thing until that, and I'm like futuristic space age Sherlock Holmes with a robot Watson.
Yes,
please. Richard Newman was also the voice of Captain Ginyu in Dragon Ball Z. If you remember that guy, remember him?
Oh, of course. Yeah, leader of the Ginyu Force, who had a really cool pose, and he got last we saw transferred into a frog when he was trying to take over Goku's body.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he exploded with the rest of that planet. The voice of Cheetor was Ian James Corlett, who was the voice of Dr. Wily in Captain N, the Game Master. He was the voice of Mega Man in Mega Man, the animated series. And since we've been talking about Dragon Ball Z, he was the voice of both Goku and Master Roshi in Dragon Ball Z. And the voice of Bob from Reboot.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of DBZ references here. Just FYI. A lot of these guys all work together. And gals. The voices of Rat Trap, Dinobot, Waspinator, and Silverbolt were all provided by Scott McNeil, who was the voice of Deadeye Duck from Bucky O'Hare, Dr. Wily from Mega Man, the animated series, Duo Maxwell from Gundam Wing, Blanca and Ken from Street Fighter, the animated series, Wrath from Mummies Alive, and because we keep talking about Dragon Ball Z, Piccolo, Majin Buu, and Android 16 from Dragon Ball Z. There's also Wolverine from X-Men Evolution and Koga from Inuyasha. He's got that raspiness that you can't escape.
Yeah.
And I love it. I appreciate it. He's one of my favorite voice actors of all time, to be honest. And he's always wearing a big old cowboy hat, which is funny.
Yeah.
I think you'd appreciate that, right?
Oh, yeah. We love that stuff down here.
Voice of Tigatron was Blue Mankuma. It's a very interesting name, and I hope I got that right because it's awesome. The voice of Air Razor was Pauline Newstone, who was the voice of Heka from Mummies Alive, and Frieza from Dragon Ball Z. The voice of Megatron was provided by David Kaye. He has a very, very long resume, just like Scott McNeil has. David Kaye was the voice of Treize Kushirada from Gundam Wing, Recoome from Dragon Ball Z, Professor Xavier and Apocalypse in X-Men Evolution. He was also Megatron and Galvatron in Transformers Armada, Energon, and Cybertron. Sesshomaru from Inuyasha, Optimus Prime and Grimlock from Transformers the Animated Series, and the voice of both Jarvis and Vision from Avengers Assemble. The voice of Black Arachnia was Venus Terzo, once again, the greatest name of all time. She was the voice also of Jean Grey from X-Men Evolution, and currently plays Dr. Schwartz from the CW show Arrow. The voice of Tarantulas was Alec Widows, who is the voice of Oolong in both Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, and is now the mayor in Powerpuff Girls Z. The voice of Scorponok was Don Brown, who was the voice of Emperor Pilaf, King Kai, and Shenron from Dragon Ball Z, Cyclonus from Transformers Armada and Energon, and voices Tom from Tom and Jerry Tales, which is real cool. I forgot they made a new Tom and Jerry cartoon. That's just fun. And last here, the voice of Terrorsaur. That's hard to say. It just sounds like Terrorsaur if you say it wrong. Was Doug Parker, who was the voice of Mega Man in Captain N, the Game Master. One of the worst characters ever.
And one of the
also,
worst voices given to him, too.
The worst voice, yeah. So also the voice of Bubbles from Dragon Ball Z, the little monkey on King Kai's planet.
Yeah.
And Mirage from Transformers Energon. And that's our cast. Lots of Dragon Ball Z alum.
Yeah, you could have shortened this a lot by just saying the entire cast of Dragon Ball Z, done.
Everyone from Dragon Ball Z is in this show.
Yeah. So for a few tasty marshmallows out of our big bowl of Beast Wars cereal, according to story editor Bob Forward, Dinobot is a descendant of Grimlock, one of the original Dinobots from the Transformers 1984. Of course, everyone knows Grimlock.
Oh man, that's such a cool thing. I didn't realize he was a descendant. So cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, probably retconned in later once they connected it to the G1 series.
I do know that they made a Grimlock Beast Wars toy, and I don't think Grimlock ever ended up in the series, but it honestly was just a repaint of Dinobot.
Yeah, you know what? In like the second season, at least episode we saw, like their designs changed dramatically.
Oh yeah, they did the whole Transmetals thing, which was stupid, I think.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it still. Like it's still kind of like I go back and forth.
Yeah.
This cartoon introduced the concepts of the Spark protoforms, which are the unborn Transformers that lack alternate modes, and the Allspark to Transformers lore. And they've been used excessively since this cartoon in comics, cartoons, and other media. And although Transformers 1984, there's a mention of a laser core, which is probably the early concept of the Spark, it was quickly forgotten. So you can thank Beast Wars for the Spark stuff.
Yeah, that does carry forward in like pretty much everything, especially the comics. There's a lot of talk about the Allspark and the individual sparks and stuff like that, which very much come into play in one of the episodes that we watched.
Yeah, and I didn't know that it had started here. Like, that's really cool. It's a nice little addition. So this, I guess Beast Wars did a lot more for the Transformers franchise than I really had ever thought it did.
Oh yeah, a lot of the characters from Beast Wars actually even carry forward into into the comics, and it's not so much the canon is a little different in that some of the Beast Wars characters kind of coexist with the G1 characters. So like there's a line of Transformers comics where Rat Trap and Starscream are kind of working together for quite a long time.
Really? That's weird. Okay.
Yeah.
According to the writers, they made sure to end each season with the entire cast being seemingly killed off, and then they just let Hasbro Toy Company decide on which characters will return for the following season. So that's a really interesting way to do it.
What? That's so weird.
Yeah, we didn't watch any of the season endings, but apparently they die at the end of each season, and Hasbro's like, all right, we want this one back, this one back, this one back, and I guess they just handpick them.
That's interesting. I do remember several characters from the show getting killed off. I didn't realize that was why.
Well, some of them I think just die on their own accord, and we'll get to that in a later episode. But also, Waspinator only became a lovable goof who always gets blown up because the writers hated him and didn't know what to do with him. So they attempted to write him out of every episode by getting him damaged in outrageous ways.
Oh, man. But I love he ends up being my favorite character. I love Waspinator, man.
Yeah, he ends up...
Waspinator!
It's so funny, like, seeing him in the first episode where he's like an actual threat to the later episodes where he's just a ridiculous goof.
He's just a joke. He's a joke character, but he's like the best.
Yeah. With a voice like that, though, you kind of have to be a joke. You have to play it like that, or else it's just overdoing it.
Waspinator's not a joke.
So you obviously had heard of this show too. Did you watch it much when you were a kid?
Oh my God. I watched so much of this. This is one of my favorite shows when it was airing. I watched it every time it was on. I had so many of the toys. I had all of the toys from the show, except for like one or two that were really hard for me to find. And I had tons and tons of the toys that were of characters that were never actually on the show. They just kept making the toys and I kept buying them.
I don't think I had any of the toys. I did watch this show a lot. Like, I think the slot it was in was like right before school. And so I would just watch it every morning right before I went to school.
Oh, yeah.
And but at a certain point later in life, I found a cool Rat Trap toy and I bought that. So I've got that somewhere in a bag or a box or something.
Nice.
They did a really good job on the toys. Like, because you wonder when you're looking at them, like, how would this transform into a robot? But they manage it somehow in a weird way.
The toys are fantastic. I mean, they are grade A Transformer toys. They did not skimp. They did not make them cheap. They made them just as advanced and cool as the originals.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously had a lot of love for Beast Wars, which, I didn't know coming into it. And so I'm, now that I've rewatched it, though, I'm pleasantly surprised. I thought that the graphics were going to hold me back, but really that I didn't mind that in the same way that I didn't mind Reboot, those graphics either, which is Mainframe Entertainment is the same animation company that did Reboot. Because this is like an American-Canadian crossover thing, just like that was. But this is 2 years after Reboot. So they had time to warm up with Reboot by doing all those CG graphics. And these are a slight improvement. They're obviously not great compared to today's standards, but you can appreciate the improvements they made. Even from season 1 to season 2, I think there was an improvement.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Well, let's go ahead and jump into the episodes for today's show. The very first episode, highest rated episode, and finally, a random listener chosen episode, order review depending on this episode's fall chronologically. But of course, at the start of the very first episode, which was Beast Wars Part 1.
Yeah.
That's it.
Beast Wars Part 1.
In this one, a band of benevolent Maximals track a pack of power-seeking Predacons to a mysterious planet. When they both crash land, they establish themselves upon the planet and clash, commencing the Beast Wars.
Commencing the Beast Wars!
Yeah.
That's true. That happened. And man, can we talk about real quick how epic the intro song of this show is? Dang. It's just like... When
the song came on, I was like, am I watching Reboot? Because it opens in a very similar way.
Yeah, it does kind of do that, yeah. But man, like I feel like when they talk to the composers, they're like, we want you to do two things. Jungle sounding music and epic metal guitar solo. And that's exactly what we got. They combined them both.
And get somebody to shout Beast Wars as loud as they can.
Dang. I love it. I love it a lot.
It is a great song. Yeah, it does. Yeah. I got hyped up real quick. Like when I was watching it, it was kind of late at night and I was like, I guess I'll get into it. And then that just got me right up on the edge of my seat.
You're just like, yes,
ready to go, ready to fight these Beast Wars.
At the beginning of this, you see the two ships are fighting each other, the Predacon ship, the Maximal ship. And this bugged me as a kid because I was obsessed with Transformers as a kid. Transformers was my go-to IP. But I got really mad as a kid because you can't really see what any of them look like at the beginning because it's so dark and you don't see what they look like till they get their actual forms once they crash onto the planet.
So you were upset that you couldn't see their pure form that hadn't taken on the identity of an animal? Okay.
Yep. What a nerd.
Well, which is, I get what you're saying. I mean, it's obvious why they didn't show it because they were like, we're not going to make two models just for this dumb intro. And so they just it was kind of clever what they did, though, darkening everything. So it's like you would kind of see silhouettes of their faces and stuff, and sometimes a little bit of the face, but not enough to be like, hey, that guy's obviously got rhino parts on his back.
Right, exactly. And it's a smart premise for the show. At first. So like them crashing to this planet, you see them, the Maximals launching all these pods, and these pods are full of these, I guess they would be Maximals, but they're Maximals that don't have identities yet and aren't fully formed.
Yeah, it's the thing I was talking about in the Marshmallows. It's the Spark protoforms where they haven't quite developed yet. So they're basically like embryo of Transformers. It's so clever that they did that because that just leaves it open. Because how else would they bring new characters into the franchise at all? Exactly. Except it's these ones that are up in the air and just like periodically crash land. But the thing about it is they can be taken either by Predacons or Maximals, depending on who gets to them first. So I thought that was a really cool concept and an interesting way to leave that open instead of just trying to force a character in somehow later.
Yeah, that is really cool because they jettison these pods to try to keep them from getting further damaged. So they launch them into this orbit before they get sucked into the atmosphere and pulled down. And it's a way to try to keep them away from the Predacons in case, they're killed and the Predacons survive. So it's just trying to keep them out of their hands. So yeah, there's just all this excitement stuff because anytime one of these pods if it gets into the atmosphere and plummets towards the Earth there, then for one, you're all hyped up wondering who's going to get to the pod first. And secondly, what character it's going to be, or like, what kind, what's the form going to be? What's the personality going to be? And it's just like a cool secondary plot point of, building the ranks on either side, or, trying to recover these former Maximals. Cause there's like some too that, the Predacons might get there first, but the original prototype Spark was Maximal. So some of these villains end up having like that inkling of like, they're bad, but they do have some of those points inside of them where they kind of want to be good, or they do good things from time to time.
Yeah. So it's a really cool way to introduce characters. And as a kid, man, I loved when they introduced new characters into something.
Oh, yes.
And especially Transformers, because like you said, you get to see what kind of robot they're going to look like, and B, what kind of animal they're going to take over. And that's just an interesting concept to me. I don't know if that's all kids, but I know you and I just really get a kick out of things like that.
Oh, yeah. I also like the idea here that, and I forgot about this till we started watching it, that there's so much energon on this planet, it's harmful to their forms. So they can't be just in their regular robot forms and out and about for too long. It'll start to like basically short circuit them. And so that's the reason why, instead of using it to really just blend in with the surroundings, like the G1 did the cars to blend in with their surroundings and stuff, this is also to keep, like, basically to protect them. And it gives them a reason to be in their animal forms quite a bit when they're outside the bases and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool.
That is cool. That's a really interesting way to approach that, because otherwise they would have no reason to be in those animal forms, because it's not like they're combat oriented or anything for the most part. They had to think of a reason, since, like you said, they're not trying to blend in or anything. So that was a good way to kind of avert that and be like, okay, well, that makes sense in this universe.
The one thing I do think is kind of dumb, though, I love the show, but I'll give them this is kind of stupid, is that they renamed themselves based on the forms they took. And I was like, oh, come on, that's just dumb.
Yeah.
Like Cheetor, because he's a cheetah, names himself Cheetor. Then Optimus Primal stays Optimus Primal. That he just lucked out there.
Yeah.
The Rhino names himself Rhinox. The rat names himself Rat Trap. Now, here's what I would have done. If they called me up and they were just like, Chris, we need you to come up with names for these guys. I would be like, you know what? On the Predacon side, you kept the name Megatron as the leader. So why don't we keep some of these legacy names? I would have made Rhinox, I would have renamed Ironhide, or Cheetor, I would have renamed Prowl, and so on and so forth. I think that would have been smart, but whatever. They chose to go that way because they don't want to listen.
Yeah, and I wonder why they, even as a kid, I remember wondering why Megatron was still Megatron, but Optimus Primal was not Optimus Prime. That always confused me.
Yeah, and what's weird too is they don't seem to have much knowledge of their predecessors, because I guess what we know is like G1, like that whole war or whatever, they make it sound like it was so many centuries ago that it's more legend than it is history. Now, some of them know a lot more about it and know some of the key players and everything, but like I feel like it's Megatron and some of the others just don't really believe much about the Autobots or Decepticons. They're just kind of like, oh, that's just like folk tales or whatever.
Yeah, so it's like they're not the same person. It is their ancestors, and like I said, it's a future past thing where it's like, yes, this is after those wars, because they even say it in the episode somewhere where they could be anywhere in time, and they just happen to go back to Earth in prehistoric times.
Yeah, which is interesting. It's revealed later that if anyone familiar with the G1 stuff, and from when we did Transformers, the first one, that the Autobots and Decepticons landed on Earth in the Ark, and it crashed like during prehistoric times. Now, when the Predacons and Maximals get here, it's revealed later, I don't know if it's first season or second season, that the Ark is already there, and the Autobots and Decepticons have not been reawakened by Teletran 1 yet. So like at one part, they find the Ark, they get inside, you see Optimus Prime and all the others decommissioned, and they're just kind of like in comas at this point. And there's a plot point at that time of, I think, Megatron trying to destroy the Autobots and stuff, to basically stop the Predacons from ever being, not in control because their ancestors would have won the war. So I just thought that was a really cool thing to do.
That's interesting. I didn't know that they had the arc in there at all. That's really cool. They
just kind of
tied those worlds together. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But so this episode.
Oh yeah.
It's interesting because it's like it's basically establishing the characters. You're establishing all of the personalities. Like Megatron is this very posh, ruthless leader with a little bit of he's cocky, he's kind of jokey a little bit sometimes, and the Predacons are all kind of idiots except for maybe Tarantulas is way too smart. The others are all dumb. Waspinator, Pterosaur, Scorponok, all complete morons. On the Maximal side, you've got Rhinox, who is the smart guy, but he's also the muscle, which is interesting. Cheetor is the young, brash kid of the group, and then Rat Trap is the loudmouth, really sarcastic. And what I think is interesting is right away you realize that, for one, their group might not have been together for very long before this happened, because Cheetor and Rat Trap obviously don't have a lot of respect yet for Optimus Primal. Cheetor just doesn't listen, and Rat Trap mouths off to him. And I just thought that was really interesting that they went that route.
Yeah, a newly put together crew. And they were just a survey crew, right? They weren't a battleship or anything.
No, they weren't prepared for that.
The only reason they went after the Predacons is because they were the only ones close enough to them to pursue. And so it was just happenstance.
Yeah, and they revealed, too, that the Predacons and Maximals have actually been at peace for centuries. And it wasn't until, this Megatron led this rogue group of Predacons and started causing trouble because he just has a different philosophy of the way things should be and doesn't want to settle for the Predacons being second banana, if you will, to the little joke there for Optimus Primal, to the Maximals. So, so this is kind of reigniting something that hasn't been going on for a very, very long time. Dinobot was also one of the Predacons who isn't stupid. He's just very cocky and kind of a jerk. He is smarter than all the other Predacons, and Megatron isn't cool with that, and basically blasts him and kicks him out. And then at the end of this episode, basically, is Dinobot shows up and is trying to take over the Maximals, and he says, I'm joining your side, but as your leader, I challenge, you, Optimus Primal, to a battle.
Yeah, he had just gotten kicked out of the the Predacons because he challenged Megatron for leadership as well.
Yeah.
And then I think Megatron just had Scorponok shoot him away. And
yeah, that's exactly what happened.
He went over to the Maximals to try to take over, like you said. And that's the way the episode closes. And it is just a part one. So part two is, of course, you can gather that Optimus just wins him over, but then offers him a chance to join anyway. And that's what ends up happening. So Dinobot basically becomes a part of the Maximals at that point, but to the point where no one really trusts him yet. And,
definitely not.
And obviously because he just, he's still a Predacon at heart and still very brash.
I do I just want to point out one more thing, though, is that instead of saying transform this time when they do their thing, they say beast mode to become the animals.
Yeah.
Especially when Pterosaur says it and he's that weird voice he does. I don't know how to do it. It sounds kind of like Krang from Ninja Turtles. He's terrorize.
Yeah. Pterosaur, for the longest time, and really by longest time, I mean really up until today, I thought it was Pterosaur with a PT since he's a pterodactyl.
Oh, no, it's terror.
Yeah, I mean, I get that they're just trying to play off the words, but like you said, when you hear terror fast, it just sounds like Terra. So that's what I thought for the longest time, ever since I was a kid.
You were wrong as a kid.
I was so wrong. So the next episode we watched for today's show was Possession, season 1, episode 21, which was your pick. And why was that?
One, because it's funny. It's very Waspinator heavy. And also, it brings back my favorite Transformers character of all time, which is Starscream. And that's so cool.
Yeah, I figured that was why you chose it.
Oh yeah, you know I love me some Starscream.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you have any other Transformers toys, but I know predominantly you have him standing up in your room somewhere.
Oh yeah, that's the only one I've got right now. Is I have a really big Starscream from the movie where he's got his cape and the crown and everything after
Oh yeah, that's
he
awesome.
throws Megatron out of the ship and just basically declares himself leader of the Decepticons right before he gets annihilated by Galvatron, which comes up in this episode, and it's
Yes.
awesome.
That is what I liked about it because, again, since they kind of wrote that in later, I thought it was a really cool way that they did this episode, honoring the movie and everything that happened in it, including Galvatron and Unicron. And I was like, oh,
Yes.
cool. Like it was kind of like me fanboying out listening to a Transformers show talk about the Transformers movie in that way.
Right? It gets so meta. It's amazing. So this one happens, there's like this big lightning storm, and then you see a spark floating through space, and it ends up on this planet. And the spark infects Waspinator. And then like Waspinator starts acting different, and all of the other Predacons are like, whoa, what's happening?
When it infects Waspinator, Pterosaur is walking by and
Yeah.
and sees him like freaking out, getting zapped by the computer. He looks over at him and then just turns around and walks away. He doesn't do anything. And I just thought that
He's
scene
just
was
like-
so funny.
Yeah, it's like nothing new there. That's
Yeah.
because, I mean, like we said before, they're all stupid. Like all the Predacons are just morons. And
Yeah.
that just proved the point even more.
Yeah.
But I love though when the lightning flashes, when Waspinator is standing up all like big and tall, and you see like these flickers of Starscream like in the flashes, and I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, that was so cool.
Yes, I did like that a lot. I was hoping there was more of it, but then again, I appreciate that they at least had that snippet of it.
Yeah, they did. They didn't want to. They threw us a little bone. They didn't want to give us the full meal.
Right.
But yeah, that was cool, and I love that when the voice completely changes, and it kind of sounds like Starscream. I mean, the person that voiced Starscream was deceased when they were doing this, so they I think the guy that voices Pterosaur voiced Starscream, Doug Parker, but he went a little over the top with it, but it still sounded pretty cool.
Yeah, it still honored Starscream's very like hyper, always shouting voice.
Yeah, I liked that. It's kind of funny because some of them they didn't really know much about Starscream other than that he existed. Like I said, they don't know their history of this era too much, just that there was a war. They know some of the players involved. And Starscream is one that they know of, but didn't know much about him. So Starscream says he was killed defending Galvatron from Unicron, but we all know he's lying.
Yeah, it's like if you know anything about Starscream, you know how treacherous and how much of a traitor he was.
Yeah, and he just totally like they wrote it exactly the same way in this, and I love that they did that. I mean, he just went for it.
It actually tricked me a little bit too, because at first I was like, I knew that wasn't how it happened in the movie, but I was like, I wonder if they're rewriting it a little bit to, just to play it however they're going to in this episode. But it turns out that was just him, lying from the very start.
Oh yeah, because he gets called out on it later by Black Arachnia knows some info about him, and I guess at one point she looked up some database files on him, and she knew that he had actually betrayed Megatron, and then when Megatron came back as Galvatron, Galvatron killed him. And so Black Arachnia knows, but Black Arachnia is also very treacherous. And we didn't mention her, so she's the first female character we get in this show. And she is the result of the Predacons recovering one of those pods. But like I said, she's one of the ones that she's bad and occasionally does good things.
I was wondering, and maybe I'm just too trusting of her, but so at the end, so she joins up with Starscream basically in his crusade to overtake Megatron and become the new leader. But I don't know if she, and maybe it's left up in the air on purpose, I don't know if she was truly on his side or if the whole time she had planned on, reverting back to Megatron
I see what you
reporting
mean,
this.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because she follows his suit, and then when things go bad, and she is the one that kind of takes him out and, pledges her loyalty to Megatron. Black Arachnia is only on Black Arachnia's side, honestly. So
Yeah.
I think she was keeping her options open and was just going to go with the winner, no matter who it was or how it happened.
I think you're right there, but she did have me convinced, and even Megatron kind of convinced.
yeah.
I mean, he was still wary when she's like, yeah, I just did it so I could discover his true intentions or whatever. And Megatron's like, all right.
Yeah,
I'll let it slide this time.
I think he even said that was clever.
Yeah.
Because he knows, Megatron's smart. He knows what's going on, but he's okay with it. So he's just like, that's interesting. Because Megatron always thinks he's 2 steps ahead. So what happens here is Starscream's actually smart, and Starscream has an idea on how to take the Maximals out, and he does it. Like, they capture the Maximal base very quickly and injure Dinobot in the process, and the Predacon or the Maximals have to retreat. And so it's here that Megatron's just super impressed, and he's just like, okay, well, now we have 2 bases, but Starscream in charge of the one base, and that's where Black Arachnia stays with him. And who else stayed with him too? Did Scorponok stay with them too, I think? Yeah.
Yes, it was Scorponok.
Because Megatron was like, watch over these 2. But the Maximals ended up getting a plan together and getting their base back. I guess before that happened, though, Starscream tried to recruit the Maximals to his side to overthrow Megatron. So he's just like, he's Starscream being Starscream. He's an extremely intelligent, and his downfall is always his attitude, his cockiness.
Well, he did so, like, he got the Maximals kind of on his side, quote unquote, by, again, quote unquote, capturing Dinobot and Optimus. Even though, like, that was their plan all along, it was really clever on the Maximals' parts on what they did. Like, they intentionally got captured so that they could get inside the base and basically undermine him from within. And but at the same time, the other Maximals had to act like they were actually captured and follow Starscream's command, which was to attack the Predacon base. And so that, again, it was smart what Starscream was doing. And I did also like what when he was in Waspinator's body, since he's a jet normally, like, he knew how to fly, and he knew, like, he was making Waspinator way faster and way more maneuverable than normal Waspinator is. So I thought that was a cool addition, showing his seniority and his level of skill.
Oh yeah, he's super intelligent and a great fighter. So yeah, he definitely outclassed all of the other Transformers very quickly. He was a better fighter than all the Predacons. He was a better fighter than all the Maximals, and was able to outthink them all.
But like you said, though, it was his hubris that did him in.
Exactly. He's too cocky, and then he overreaches, and that's his downfall every time. It's always been that way for him. Except for in the comics. Spoilers. But not the way you would think, believe it or not the way you would think. We said Black Arachnia ends up being his downfall once he overreaches, because her and Megatron get him kind of stuck, and she shoots this thing of Energon that's right by him, and it blows Waspinator's body up, and it sends Starscream's spark shooting back into the universe, basically like out in space, which he has been out there. He does mention at one point his spark's been floating through space for, centuries. For forever, basically, because the Great War where he died was a long, long, long time ago.
Yeah, so basically they're like, or at least Megatron's like, you've probably gone mad in that time. And how wouldn't you, being out in the blackness of space for just that long?
And I would agree with that, because he is, even though he's still Starscream, he's a little more unhinged than the G1 Starscream was.
Right, yeah.
At least it definitely felt that way. I do love, though, when they're putting Waspinator back together. That line Waspinator has is like the epitome of Waspinator. I love it, where he's like, Waspinator has a headache on his whole body.
Yeah, I wrote that down too, because I love that line.
It's the best line ever. It's just perfectly encapsulates his character.
And then, yeah, like Starscream's spark gets shot away, or he has his like final commands, which are like, I'll be back even if it takes 1,000 years and I'll get revenge on all of you. The last episode we watched for today's show was Code of Hero, season 2, episode 9. This is the highest rated episode. And when the Predacons proceed to annihilate humanity, Dinobot fights the whole Predacon army to preserve history. That's a good synopsis because that's pretty much what happens. Man, I was not ready for this episode. I did not.
Yeah.
I was not aware that this happened, what happens in this episode. So I was caught off guard and a little emotional over it. Like I was like, oh man, like I get why this show is held in such high regard. I mean, I already liked it, but I had never seen this episode. Then I was like, dang, like they took it to another level.
Yeah, this episode, like I hated this as a kid just because of how heavy it was. Like, because it hits you in the feels real hard. Because I mean, at this point, Dinobot's kind of become quite a bit of a fan favorite, honestly. You know, he's the anti-hero that's like now he's become good, and he's become like honorable and stuff. And what's interesting is
to compare it to Dragon Ball Z, he's the Vegeta of the show.
Oh yeah, exactly. He's basically Vegeta. What's interesting is something must have happened recently, like before this episode, that called his loyalty into question. Because, man, that argument with Rat Trap, that was actually like really tense. And like they were in each other's faces. And what was surprised me is as Rat Trap slammed him against the wall and Dinobot actually didn't retaliate this time. And I'm like, dang, like what has happened that's really gotten to them both? Yeah, and Dinobot's like questioning his own sense of like honor and destiny too, because he spends a lot of time at the beginning of the episode kind of talking to himself about being a warrior and what, like, why he's even here. Like, did I miss the moment that I was supposed to prove myself? You know, the moment of my destiny, has it come and gone? Did I make a mistake? You know, because he's struggling to feel like the noble, honorable warrior that he's always wanted to be.
Yeah, and that's such a heavy concept.
Yeah.
Just thinking about it, especially as it was presented to kids, where it's like, according to him, like the way that he's quoting it, like you have one chance in your life to kind of prove yourself and like meet your destiny. And again, like you were saying, he's wondering if he's lost that moment, if it has passed by and he's missed his chance.
Megatron has this golden disc, and whatever happened with Dinobot and Rat Trap before this episode, it had to do with that disc. This disc has information, current information, not in the past where they are. It's what would be in present day or whatever. So he can see images of like, you know, this mountain in what would be current Earth. And he's like, we're going to try a thing here. And he gets this other Predacon named Rampage, who he has blackmailed because his spark is kept outside of his body and he can start to crush it, and Rampage is in pain and has to do exactly what Megatron says. Megatron has him shoot this mountain and he blows it up, and then he looks at the disc and sees that the mountain changes on the disc. So he knows that he can change the future. And so where that goes from there is we see earlier in the episode these like Neanderthal humans in this valley, and it opens with this one of them getting attacked and presumably killed by a snake. The Predacons go down and there's basically like, we're gonna wipe out these Neanderthals because this disc tells us the human race originates from this valley right here. So if we wipe them out, the Autobots allies, you know, in the future that help defeat the Decepticons, they're wiped out. They won't even exist. So that's the plan. Kill all of the Neanderthals to keep the human race from ever even being born.
I was really wondering how they were going to stop it, because I was like, man, there didn't really even seem to be that many, like, you know, Neanderthals around. And again, at the beginning, they showed how defenseless they are. So it's like, this guy, he's got a pretty easy job here. And then we see that it's kind of left on Dinobot's shoulders because the rest of the Maximals are, I guess, pretty far away from this valley at this time. And they're having to, you know, Dinobot lets them know like what's going on, what the plan is, or what Megatron's plan is. And so they're on their way. But if it were just left up to them, they would not have made it in time. So it's all on Dinobot's shoulders to, like I said in the synopsis of the episode, defeat basically the entire Predacon army to save humanity, to preserve history.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it's like 6 Predacons, I think, all versus Dinobot, just Dinobot. So, and they are wiping the Neanderthals out. Like they're just doing some heavy freaking firepower, and Dinobot gets down there and just immediately he tries to take a few of them out stealthily, and he does. But I mean, as soon as he's seen, he starts taking pretty heavy damage. Like he gets just shot up super bad. You can see dents in his like metal plating and pieces of even like his dinosaur form, like there's chunks of skin missing and stuff. He's just getting destroyed, but he's still like beating them back, and at one point he loses both his like shield and his sword that he always has, and he picks up like this tree limb and he's fighting with a tree limb and basically takes all of them out, and then has a kind of like a standoff with Megatron, but Megatron captured the remaining Neanderthals and has them tied up, and he's ready to blast them unless Dinobot surrenders. Yeah, it was just like, dang.
And this whole time, Dinobot's like system is telling him that his power is like 96% or depleted, or 98% depleted, or something like that. So his body is on the verge of failure, but he has to keep pushing. And he's essentially saying override, like just ignoring the error messages because he can't stop.
Yeah.
Like if he stops, like history will be erased.
Yeah. So like with the Transformers, they can go into stasis mode, which is essentially if it were a human, it'd be a coma, like a medically induced coma. So they take so much damage, or their energy is depleted, they can go into stasis, which is essentially like your computer hibernating, lets itself rest, and you can be repaired and things like that. He overrides it, and that means that without going into stasis, there's going to be no recovery. He can't be fixed. And he ends up knocking the disc out of Megatron's hands and uses the rest of his energy to blast it with his I-beams and just shatters it. And at that point, the rest of the Maximals finally get there, and they fight Megatron back, and Megatron and the Predacons retreat. But yeah, dude, Dinobot is done. He's just saying his last words, getting his last rites, basically, as the Maximals are around him. And dude, it is heavy. It's super emotional, especially like, man, with all the arguing him and Rat Trap did at the beginning of the episode, and then Rat Trap standing over him, and like Rat Trap's upset and like holding his hand and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. And he's just like, it's good to know where you stand. And that was just a really emotional like pivot point for Rat Trap. Like it's good to see his softer side coming out towards someone who, like you said in the earlier in the episode, they were arguing and, potentially he hated him, but there was respect now because he had earned it in Rat Trap's eyes. And, he basically, Dinobot, it's weird even saying this, but he doesn't regret any of what he's just done. Like he knows that it was necessary. Yeah. And he even says, like, after Optimus tells him that he saved the lives of those who live here and those to come, and he's like, then there's nothing left to regret. And that's just such a cool, like, outro line. Like, if you're going to go, like, that's what you would want.
And I like, too, that he says, if anyone ever asks, tell them my story and tell them the bad things I've done along with the good.
And let me be judged accordingly. Yeah.
Yeah. He's just like, I want the truth to be out there, whether I'm a hero or not, it doesn't matter. Just tell them, my story. And I like the part that he even says, if anyone asks.
And then we see his spark leave his body.
Yeah.
And the way that they say it is it's going to join the Matrix with the greatest of Cybertron.
Yep.
So it's leaving to join the Allspark, the Matrix.
It's so depressing, but it's bittersweet, I guess.
It is, and I liked Dinobot before, but this made it like a whole nother level for me of respecting him as a character, because I didn't know he had so much depth to him.
Yeah, a lot of the characters surprisingly have quite a bit of depth. I mean, there's a few that you just don't really penetrate, but I mean, I always felt Megatron did. Megatron always has a lot of depth in pretty much any iteration, except maybe the stupid Michael Bay movies. But like I like Megatron here when he gives that speech. He's being really condescending, but really polite as he does it, and kind of silly in a way. But there's so much malice behind it. It's still kind of frightening, you know?
Yeah.
I like that a lot. And a lot of the Maximals have a lot of good depth. And not like the main characters. It's more like Tigertron and Airazor and Silverbolt whenever.
So what are their stories? Why are they on the outskirts and like not part of the main Maximal crew?
Tigertron's just, he's got a weird thing where he just, I think that he doesn't 100% agree with everything that the Maximals do. It's not that he agrees with the Predacons. He just does not like their ways.
He's just more of a gray character.
Yeah, and he feels more at peace with the animals than he does his fellow robots. So he stays in his tiger form a lot, and he'll stay with the tigers and keeps away from them a lot. But him and Airazor have kind of a love thing going on.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay, yeah.
So she spends a lot of time with him. Silverbolt comes in once he gets there. I think we saw him at the end of this, standing over Dinobot, but Silverbolt's very interesting as well. And Black Arachnia is also extremely interesting. And her and Silverbolt kind of have this Romeo-Juliet thing going on eventually.
There was a little bit of a time paradox-ish thing at the end of the episode, maybe, where we see the same not the same Neanderthal because he might have been eaten by that snake, but another one pick up the hammer the makeshift hammer that Dinobot had made to fight off Megatron, and he cracks open a coconut with it, and then we see the snake coming at him, the same snake, and he is able to finally defend himself from it. So it's almost like, was there survival of humanity only because Dinobot gave him and so if that's the case, then that would be a paradox, because it would mean that he would always have to have done it to prevent Megatron from stopping something he had already done. And so then it just gets in a real weird territory.
I think they did that on purpose. That was, Dinobot was worried that his destiny had passed him, but that was his destiny. He set in motion everything, he saved the human race, and they developed because of him, In the end, we see he didn't miss his destiny.
That's really intriguing. I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, looks like it's about time we send our inner kids back to the prehistoric past present to choose their side of the Maximal Predacon battle, then find out what they thought of Beast Wars.
Wow, this show is so awesome because there's all these cool characters that are robots, but they can be animals and dinosaurs and spiders, and some of them are girlfriend bots, and there's all these big battles and explosions, and Rat Trap is so funny because he does what he wants, and he's the best, but then Starscream shows up, and Waspinator is all like, oh, I'm a Starscream, and it's so cool, and I gave it 5 bowls of terrorized cereal out of 5.
Whew. Initially, I wasn't sure how I felt about Transformers changing into animals instead of vehicles, but this show actually ended up being better than I expected. There's a very diverse mixture of unique characters, and the storylines were actually played out way more seriously than I had thought. While still archaic compared to some of the other shows our older selves have shown us, the graphics were a noticeable upgrade from the show Reboot, which Mainframe Entertainment had published 2 years prior. Overall, I'd give Beast Wars 5 big bowls of Chrome Steel Berry cereal out of 5, and would recommend checking it out if you can look past the HCGI visuals. One thing I didn't really get is why changing into animal form stopped the Energon from overloading them. Are animal skins like a protective shell? Maybe that's why girls wear all the animal print clothing to protect themselves from high levels of Energon. I'll ask my mom if I can get some next time we're shopping for clothes to prepare me for the battle against the Predacons.
It's true, and the same thing goes for things like nuclear radiation. As long as you have exposed skin, you're totally fine.
But do you need animal print skin?
No, I don't know.
To protect from radiation. Are you saying it right here, right now? You can protect yourself from radiation, all forms, by wearing animal print.
Okay, well then just cover yourself with nothing but animal prints. You can walk into a nuclear reactor itself and be totally fine. And I think that I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this on my bucket list, and we'll try it out.
Sure. You don't need hazmat suits, nothing. Just wear a great head-to-toe tiger suit, and you're good.
I'm for it. So do you have any final thoughts on Beast Wars before we go?
I went in kind of expecting it to be a little ho-hum, like maybe I'd give it like a 3 out of 5, and it was going to be one that I had maybe remembered more fondly than it actually was quality-wise. But this was really good. This was better than I had even remembered it being, because I couldn't understand the higher complexities of it. As a kid, I just liked the visuals and the idea of, Transformers transforming into animals, whatever. As many jokes as there are in it to keep some levity, it's a very serious show, and it really does show you introspective on this war between these opposing sides. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And again, there's so many smart things they did, like the protoforms falling to add to the rankings. And also that last episode we had watched with the whole Dynamite meeting his destiny. I get why that's the highest rated. It totally makes sense to me. And I really think if you've never seen Beast Wars, like don't worry about like Beast Machines or whatever the later ones are called. Like go back to the original one and appreciate it for what it is. There's a lot there, a lot of layers to it. And worth watching.
I did watch Beast Machines and I watched it as recently as maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, and I don't remember that one being good. I don't remember liking that whatsoever. But Beast Wars was fantastic, and you know this does look kind of bad. I mean, it doesn't look as bad as I felt like Reboot did. It makes sense, though, that it had a couple years to, since it was made after Reboot, to kind of advance a little bit as far as the graphics and technology, but just a little bit. It was still kind of rough, but honestly, I got so wrapped in the story and the characters that I completely forgot about the graphics really quickly. The characters and their development are fantastic. Each one has such a distinct personality and function to the team that it really makes this show. And of course, I love all the continuity and the homage that carries over from G1 and the Transformers movie. Because honestly, they would have had a great show regardless if they had linked back to that. So they didn't even need to do that, but they did it anyway. And it becomes this really cool, secret, subtle backbone to the whole plot of the show. Granted, there are some retcons to make it happen, but it makes it so cool. So this is kind of a testament that how great writing and a great cast can kind of overcome like a visual budget. I mean, it was just so good, regardless of how it looked.
Yeah, let me tell you one thing that I almost forgot to mention, and I had read it somewhere, I think on Wikipedia maybe. There was initially a lot of clashing from the fans of the original G1 franchise against this when season 1 first started. So the writers would get like hate mail from them saying like that they wanted vehicles, not animals, whatever. And so it became labeled as truck, not monkey. But it was like TRUKK, not MUNKY. So
it's weird.
I just thought that was a really funny labeling of it, of this whole like fans against Beast Wars who were just completely on the side of the original series. But I think they can coexist together and you can appreciate them both for different reasons.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, there's other things that Beast Wars does that I really like in kind of linking back to the homage is that there are a lot of the toys that are basically Beast Wars versions of some of the original characters. I mean, they do bring a few in that are kind of iffy, like, you know, possible like descendants. Like you said, Dinobot, Silverbolt is another. But then there's with the toys, you get characters like Ironhide and Prowl do come in, where Ironhide's an elephant and Prowl is a lion, which is super cool. And they do a lot of like that. Like I said, this, I don't think any of them actually end up in the show. These are just the toys, but there's still that link back to it. So there's that appreciation from the showrunners and from the guys making the toys themselves. And also like, I don't know how much of this you've seen, but Unicron becomes a big part of Beast Wars. I mean, a huge, not pun intended there because Unicron is gigantic, but he becomes a big part in the
I
fate
did not
of
know
what
that.
happens. Yeah, it's so cool.
Now I'm gonna have to like rewatch the whole thing now just to catch up because there's so much that I didn't even know, I wasn't aware of.
Oh yeah, man, it's worth it. It is worth it to rewatch.
So thanks, David and Cyrustel, for suggesting this to us. Again, it's one that we had seen before, but not with adult eyes, at least on my part. So I really appreciated it this time, probably even more so than when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, this was so much fun to revisit, and this is one of those cartoons that, I mean, talking about starting this podcast, what, 3.5 or 4 years ago, I guess it's been 4 now. This is definitely one that we were like, oh man, this will be such a fun one to do. But it just took us so long to get here. So we're so glad that you guys recommended this so we could rewatch it and give us such a cool trip back down to our childhoods. So appreciate that.
Well, listeners, looks like our milk supply is now run dry. So it's time for us to say goodbye. And next week, we'll be watching
The Thanksgiving That Almost Wasn't, Suggested via Facebook by Iris Sutton and via Twitter by @NickelForce.
I'm worried. I wonder why it almost wasn't. I've never heard of this or seen it, so
We almost didn't have Thanksgiving, the most forgettable holiday. Let's just go ahead and say that now.
that would make a good companion film with Year Without a Santa Claus.
Right?
It was just like there was one really bad year where both of those took place, where Thanksgiving almost didn't happen, Santa Claus almost didn't come.
Are we gonna get some some other misers in here? You know, because we had like was it the snow miser, the heat miser, maybe
Turkey miser.
We'll get the
Yeah.
turkey miser, the corn miser.
Yeah, the maize miser.
I'm
Yeah.
Mr. Corn Miser. I'm Mr. Maze.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I
Someone
know that's
make
not going to
this.
happen, but I really hope that does happen.
Yeah, me too.
Well, once again, I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
We'll see you next Saturday.
Presented by Nerdsloth.
A place for lazy nerds.
If you like what you heard, consider donating at patreon.com/nerdsloth so we can continue bringing you quality shows. Be sure to also leave us a review and share your favorite episodes and clips on social media. If you're looking for more content, visit us at nerdsloth.com.